there are so many of us after 50, so many of our viewers that simply have given up on love. How do we restore hope? Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome back inspirational speaker and award-winning author, Geraldine Brown Giomblanco. Geraldine, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks, Silka. It's so great to be back. I love coming on your show.
Geraldine is the author of Geraldina. Oh, here it is. Geraldina and the Compass Rose, one woman's faith-filled journey to find love. And of course, that's a huge topic here on Second Act. And that's what I want to talk about today, because your faith-filled journey was a 30-year wait. You found the man of your dreams at 50. And that's what we want to talk about today. Is there are so many of us after 50, so many of our viewers that simply have given up on love. So Geraldine, let me throw it over to you. Just briefly give us an insight into your story, and then
Sure.
how do we
Sure.
restore hope?
I mean, that is like you open up the first page of the book, and I give you kind of the definition and what the secret is to my 30-year wait. And it was because I had hope. And I encourage the reader at that point, in the very beginning, before I even get into my story, to hang on to hope.
Mhm.
And, when you think about it and you look within, what does that mean? What is the meaning of hope? And it's like, it's knowing that there's something out there for you, or something that will happen. And
Mhm.
it's a feeling of trusting and knowing
Mhm.
that something will happen.
Well, you have a great story, and I'm going to link to our first interview that we did, which we will go into the book there a lot more. Also, your great interview with your husband, Mark.
Right.
That was a terrific interview. Our viewers loved that. I'll link to that as well. What I really want to get into is just what you said. What you did along the way to maintain or restore hope.
Mhm.
And there's so much written on this when I was Googling this before you came on, but there's some points I want to get your input on, and then get your own advice of how do you restore hope, because I know there's viewers watching that are going, there's no, I'm done. I'm done with, we're never going to find anything. I'm done.
A lot of people read my book and then they emailed me or texted me or called me and they said, thank you, there's hope for me. And there is hope, folks, opportunity for you out there waiting for you to
Yeah,
happen.
and there's lots of stories. There's tons of stories about finding love later in life, and that is the common theme, is that you believe that something can happen. So how do we change our mindset? I hear one point is, and let me get your input: treat your body like the temple that it is. Just go back to taking care of yourself, because that's a good point. When we are just distraught, perhaps after a divorce, we end up on the couch eating ice cream or whatever, just bad habits that keep us down. So how do you do that? What's your opinion there?
I love that. I am going to refer to a chapter I had. It was called Freewheeling. So here I was, 49 years old, found myself a single again.
Mhm.
And folks, please, I've been through quite a bit. So what did I do? When I lived in Boston, one of the things that Boston taught me was that you can just ride your bike anywhere.
Mm.
So I decided, like, why am I not doing that in New York? I literally would used to put my bike on the back of my car and drive it to a path. But
Mhm.
now I said, I'm just going to go right out the door. So that was one thing that was uncomfortable, but I forced myself to get out. And I think that's one of the
Mhm.
things. And I felt great when I came back
Mhm.
from that. You glow, everybody knows that. I did a bunch of other things. I found a yoga class that I really liked. I taught little kids, volunteered, which
Mhm.
brought me a lot of joy. So I did. I took some special care.
Yeah.
You can sit in front of the TV. That was fun too, getting Chinese and calling it my own date night.
And that's what they say here too, is once you start liking yourself again, or you feel better about yourself, suddenly other people will do the same, and you'll have an easier time attracting the person, or a person that you want. And talking about the person that you want, here's the other thing it says: try changing your perspective for what a partner should be. That's a great point. What do you say to that?
Well, I did change names in the books, but I'm gonna go back to an original name. His name was Peter, and he was such a sweetheart, and it was just
Mhm.
a guy I dated. He was the actual person I met before I met my husband. He was not the dynamic. He was shorter than me. I mean, from an aesthetic standpoint, it wasn't exactly somebody I would have dated, but what a personality and what a joy to be around. So I wanna say even though Mark was my guy, I did make a conscious effort before I met my husband to try something different, like to not stereotype. Don't stereotype. Write a list of the things that you're really looking for so that you can recognize it when it walks by you.
They they say here too, like don't necessarily look for a soulmate. There's so much written on finding your soulmate, but finding a team player. I like that. I've never heard that.
I quoted that. I wrote it right here, and my husband is he's my number one best partner teammate.
Mhm.
uh, You
Yeah,
know, we're in
yeah,
it
exactly.
together.
The other thing that made a lot of sense to me is don't put so much pressure on marriage. Is marriage really the ultimate outcome of a successful relationship? For some of us, it is, like yourself. You really wanted marriage, and I'm going to say for all the right reasons. But there's a lot of us, like me. I've been married twice, and I got married for the wrong reasons. So I think we really need to examine the societal pressure and what that really means to us. Talk to me about that.
First of all, I think, especially going through any kind of divorce, that's and my husband did before he met me. So there was this huge sensitivity. And I think maybe even more so, I was still open and honest because I never signed on the paper, right?
Mhm.
I never committed that
Yeah.
way. And so that kind of made it kind of scary for other people too. I was intimidating. They're like, why weren't you married? Like what
Mhm.
happened? I wanted a commitment. That's really what I
Mhm.
wanted. I wanted a companion. I wanted
Yeah.
a compatible companion.
Mhm.
Right? You know what it was? I think if you were to think of the days, like even my husband, when he was in his late 20s, when he did get married, he was looking for marriage and a family.
Mhm.
So what I wanted was somebody I can call my family because I was
Mm.
tired of having to go to everybody else's family
Mhm.
for the holidays and all that other stuff. So I did want
Yeah.
a marriage
Yeah.
at 50.
Well, no, that's a great point. Really think about what marriage means to you, and don't let societal pressure get you down. You don't have to get married. Being single is fine, or like Geraldine, just described, a partner. So take that pressure off of you. I mean, I would strongly recommend that as well. I love this, Geraldine. Enjoy life and live in the now. And that seems so obvious, yet it really isn't. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's a choice as well. People are really stuck in the past, and it can really interfere with a beautiful relationship because you're maybe frightened that they're going to discover something, or there's some kind of shame, or there's some kind of guilt, or there's some other thing that, obviously we use the term baggage, but it's
Mhm.
true. And so you're so concerned about all of these other things that you're not in the presence of the person. And there's so much even in your own being, when you are present. I've been really practicing that. So when you actually, you know, breathe into a moment and you're there, that triggers all the beautiful endorphins and everything. So
Mhm.
when you're present, it makes all the difference. But being preoccupied with what could have been or should have been, or gosh, even our own vanity, right? Gets in the way of being in the now.
It is very difficult to do that while you're in that environment, in that situation. I want to acknowledge that. I know if you're tuned into this because you wanted advice for restoring hope, you're at a point where you're hopeless. So again, I just want to reemphasize there's so many great stories out there, Geraldine being one of them, that it is possible, but it does take some action. Another one, consider your alternative, meaning that, okay, so you're single. What might have been the alternative? Like with me, I chose wrong twice. And I think being single might be better than being stuck in a bad marriage.
Oh, definitely. For me, it was I had a bunch of relationships. I don't want to say they were all bad. I think the other alternative is in my particular case, it was really take a step back and ask that question again, what is it that you want? And I thought, you know what? Well, if I was going to be single, right? Because I haven't, the one thing I did know I wasn't going to settle for something just to
Mhm.
tell the rest of the world that I was married. So it was either all or nothing for me. It had to be the right person or I'm not doing it. Plus, what I didn't know, and I could have lost hope for those people that are watching, I decided that, well, if I'm going to be single, then I want to be happy. And what is going to take for me to be happy as a single person? Well, I wanted to be free from the thought of having to be married. And I also wanted to have a purpose. Like I wanted to switch gears. I wasn't happy in my work anymore. It was time to move on. So I quit the job. So that was a bold move for me. But if I was going to get married and I needed to find that mate, I wrote the list of these 50 things that I wanted in a person because Silk, I just wanted to be able to recognize him when he walks by. He had to be cute in jeans, but there were more to it. There was very spiritual things that he had to have. And then he also had to have those other attributes that would make me attracted and want to be with him.
Mhm.
Right. So I took the time to be very focused on these two worlds that I could possibly be moving forward once I turned 50.
You were talking about, doing riding your bike, and a point here is find a hobby or just an activity that you really enjoy, and get out there and do it. And
Mhm.
again, that sounds so simple, but that's such an important point.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I actually decided on the idea of finding a hobby, and maybe this will trigger for somebody, but my story is about roses because my grandmother's name was Rose and this and that. So I thought, gee, I wonder what it would be like to be a floral designer, and I am now a floral designer. So I found a hobby. I love it. I get to do all these magnificent
Mhm.
weddings and parties and stuff like that. But it's just this whole idea, look at your own personal strengths and
Mhm.
what are they and what are the things that you really want to do and try something different. The biggest part there is you have to show up. I mean, you just can't wish all of this stuff. You have to be in it.
Well, again, great point. Great point. Well, overall, the theme again for restoring or finding hope is that you really have to become the best version of yourself, that you truly love yourself. I know we hear that over and over and over again. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. But that's really what it is. Because as you said, Geraldine, if you don't like yourself or love yourself, how can anybody else? We're starting to come to the end. What would you like to add here in closing on the issue of
Well, I,
hope?
I kind of want to give your viewers a break. I mean, part of it is you we don't have the crystal ball, and people pay a
Mhm.
lot of money for all sorts of things to give them the answers. I find it through my own personal faith and spirituality. Other people have other ways of finding what that is. But where is it written that that we need to know 100% of the time what our future is going to be
Mhm.
or what is going to happen? Do you know that the number one type of book that sells is a mystery? So looking at life to some degree with this mystery, like, wow, anything could happen at any time. And I am living proof that in 1 minute, your entire life can change. So you need to hold on to hope. You just have to hang on to it. And in the meantime, while this energy is, building, I actually circled a couple of great quotes from Eckhart Tolle's book. Do you mind if I share
No,
those?
please do.
Okay. So this one in particular, it says some changes look negative on the surface, but you will soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge.
Mm.
So if we sit and talk and sit on the couch or whatever it is where you're sulking and you're losing hope, right? Just know that if you switch that mental state of mind and start making space, you might even have to clean out the house a little bit to make room,
Mhm.
then just believe that there's something brewing somewhere else. And what a great way to anticipate and be hopeful, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
like that one. And then the other one was the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it.
Mm.
And here's the other one, the past has no power over the present moment.
Mm. Yeah. The past does not equal the present. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I have one of the ones I like, and I have it sitting right over here, is always believe something wonderful is about to happen. And that's worked for me when I find myself getting down. Something about that inspires me. And I guess that's, we all need to find that little mantra. Again, thank you so much, Geraldine, for being
Thank
here.
you.
The book again is Geraldina and the Compass Rose. It's a great read. It's a love story. It's your memoir written novel style. So again, thank you for being here. There's a couple other things I want to talk with you about, and we'll see you next time on Second Act TV.
Thanks, Silka.